Imagine for a moment that everything you built has been taken from you, not by a foreign enemy, not by a conquering army from across the sea, but by your own son. The year is roughly 975 BCE. The city of Jerusalem, the jewel of the ancient Near East, the capital you built with your own hands, the city where you danced in the streets before God, is burning behind you, not with fire, but with the fever of revolution. And you are running. You are the most powerful king in the ancient world. Your name is spoken with fear across Egypt, Philistia, and Aram. You have slain giants, composed symphonies, commanded armies, and sat upon a throne ordained by heaven itself. And now you are barefoot, weeping, climbing the dusty slope of the Mount of Olives with a torn robe on your back and ash on your head. The symbol of a man who has lost everything. Your own court officials watch you stumble. Your own people line the road and weep with you, because their king, the great David, son of Jesse, the anointed one of Israel, is a broken man. This is the moment. This is the crisis from which the most comforting poem ever written was born. To understand Psalm 23, you must first understand the man who wrote it. And to understand the man, you must return to the hills of Bethlehem, long before the palace, long before the throne, long before the betrayal. David was the youngest of 8 sons born to a man named Jesse, a modest herdsman from the tribe of Judah. While his older brothers were trained for war, David was given the sheep. In the ancient Near Eastern world, a shepherd's life was not romantic. It was not poetic. It was brutal, lonely, and unforgiving. A shepherd was responsible for guiding his flock across the rugged terrain of the Judean wilderness, rocky highlands, dry riverbeds, and cliff-edged valleys where one false step meant death. The shepherd slept outside under open skies. He fought off lions with his bare hands. He tracked down wolves with a carved wooden rod. He guided his animals away from poison plants, toward the rare patches of tender green grass, those brief, sacred oases of life in a landscape otherwise defined by dust and danger. David killed both lions and bears during those years. He did not inherit his courage from a general. He earned it in silence alone, under the stars. But something else happened in those long, solitary years on the hillsides of Bethlehem. David developed an extraordinary inner life. He wrote music. He composed poetry. He processed his loneliness, his wonder, his fear, his faith through song. The Hebrew word used for these compositions is mizmor, a meditative musical poem. These were not performances. They were conversations between a shepherd and his God. And so when the prophet Samuel arrived at Jesse's house to anoint a future king, God passed over every strong, battle-hardened elder son and pointed to the boy on the hillside, the one with the harp, the sling and the sunburned face. Man looks at the outward appearance, Samuel was told, but the Lord looks at the heart. That boy would become the greatest king Israel ever knew. He would slay Goliath of Gath, unite the 12 tribes, capture Jerusalem, and build a kingdom that shook the ancient world. Under David, Israel reached the height of its glory, a golden age that later generations would look back upon with aching nostalgia. But empires, even golden ones, contain the seeds of their own undoing. And the seeds in David's empire were planted not by his enemies, but by the choices he himself made behind closed doors. To understand why Psalm 23 carries the weight it does, you must understand the catastrophic chain of events that preceded it. Years before the crisis, David, at the height of his power, committed a devastating moral failure. He saw a woman named Bathsheba bathing on a rooftop. He summoned her to his palace. He slept with her. When she became pregnant, David orchestrated the death of her husband, Uriah the Hittite, one of his own most loyal soldiers, by placing him at the front of a battle designed to kill him. The prophet Nathan confronted David directly, speaking in a parable that broke the king like a hammer breaks stone. "You are that man," Nathan said, and the consequences, Nathan declared, would be devastating. "The sword shall never depart from your house." That prophecy was not metaphor. It came to pass with horrifying precision. David's son Amnon raped his half-sister Tamar. David's other son, Absalom, Tamar's full brother, a man of extraordinary physical beauty and ruthless political ambition, avenged his sister by murdering Amnon. He then fled the kingdom for 3 years. When David finally allowed Absalom to return to Jerusalem, there was no true reconciliation. There was only the cold architecture of unfinished business. Absalom spent the next 4 years standing at the gates of Jerusalem, shaking hands, promising justice to anyone who came to the king with a complaint. He was not just popular, he was engineering a takeover, and when the moment came, it was surgical. Absalom sent secret messengers throughout Israel with a single instruction. When you hear the trumpet sound, then say, Absalom is king in Hebron. The coup was launched. And it worked, almost instantly. The text of 2 Samuel tells us that the conspiracy was strong, for the people kept increasing with Absalom. David received the news in Jerusalem. His response is one of the most arresting moments in all of ancient literature. The most powerful king in the ancient world looked at his advisors and said, "Arise and let us flee." He did not call his army. He did not fortify the walls. He left. He walked out of his own palace, out of his own city, with nothing but a small company of loyal soldiers and servants. And as he climbed the Mount of Olives, that long, exposed hillside where the whole city of Jerusalem could see him, he wept openly. He covered his head. He took off his sandals. He walked through the dust in the posture of a mourner. This was not merely a political crisis. This was the total collapse of a man's world, his son, his city, his kingdom, his legacy, all of it, gone. And somewhere on that road, through the Judean wilderness, heading east toward the Jordan River, toward a city called Mahanaim, surrounded by dry canyons and ancient danger, David reached into himself and found, astonishingly, something still alive. He found a poem. Scholars and theologians for centuries have connected the composition of Psalm 23 to this exact period, the Absalom rebellion, or to the equally devastating years when the young David fled the murderous jealousy of King Saul, sleeping in caves and dry riverbeds across the same Judean wilderness. Either way, the geography is the same. The emotional register is identical. A man stripped of everything in a landscape that wants to kill him, reaching toward God. And what he wrote was this: "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." Those are not the words of a man in a palace. Those are the words of a man in a desert. Notice the verb. Not the Lord will be, but the Lord is. Present tense. Right now, in the worst moment, in the barefoot, ash-covered, weeping, fleeing worst moment, God is here. And the metaphor David chooses is not accidental. He does not say, "God is my general," or "God is my fortress." He says, "God is my shepherd." In the ancient Near Eastern world, this was a profoundly political and intimate statement simultaneously. Mesopotamian kings called themselves shepherds of their people. The great Hammurabi of Babylon described himself as the shepherd who brings peace. Sumerian kings were buried with shepherd's crooks. The metaphor of ruler as shepherd was the highest language of covenant care. The image of a powerful being who bends himself personally toward the weak, the wandering, the lost. David is saying, "The God of the universe has assigned himself to my case personally. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters." This verse is deceptive in its gentleness. To a modern ear, it sounds like a nature poem. But to an ancient shepherd, to a man who was a shepherd, it was a survival manual. In the Judean wilderness, green pastures do not simply exist. They are found. They are searched for. A shepherd in ancient Israel would rise before dawn and walk miles ahead of his flock, studying the terrain, testing the grass for toxins, identifying the rare plateaus where the morning dew had left just enough moisture to produce a strip of tender green growth. The sheep would only lie down once their hunger was satisfied. A well-fed sheep, the ancient shepherds knew, is a calm sheep. A calm sheep survives the journey, and still waters were a matter of life and death. Sheep are terrified of fast-moving water. A rushing stream, however clean, could cause a sheep to panic, fall in and drown, its thick wool absorbing water until it became too heavy to swim. The shepherd sought out pools of quiet water, calm springs, places where the animal could drink without fear. In other words, David is not describing luxury. He is describing the specific, technical care of a shepherd who knows every danger and navigates around each one on behalf of a creature that cannot navigate for itself. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This verse has a geography. It is not imaginary. Between Jerusalem and Jericho runs a gorge called Wadi Kelt, a narrow, canyon-carved scar in the Judean desert where the walls rise so steeply that sunlight barely reaches the floor. It is a place of absolute shadow. In David's time, it was filled with bandits, wild animals, and unpredictable flash floods. Shepherds had no choice but to pass through it. There was simply no other route between the highlands and the lowlands. The darkness was not metaphorical, it was geological. Ancient Israeli shepherds carried two tools: the rod, a short, thick wooden club used to fight off predators, and the staff, the long, curved crook used to pull a wandering sheep back from the edge of a cliff. One was a weapon, one was a rescue device. Together they meant, I can fight whatever comes for you, and I will catch you if you fall. David, the man who once used those exact tools on the hillsides of Bethlehem, is telling God, you hold those tools now. You are the one fighting on my behalf. You are the one who will catch me before I fall. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Here the metaphor shifts from wilderness to banquet hall. But the tension does not disappear. The enemies are still present. They haven't gone anywhere. David is not describing a victory banquet after the battle. He is describing a table set during the threat. The danger is visible, and God is saying, sit down, eat, be still. I will handle what surrounds you. The anointing of the head with oil in ancient Near Eastern culture was a gesture of supreme honor, the highest welcome a host could offer a guest. When Absalom's army was circling and David's own son wanted him dead, God was painting his brow with the oil of a king. You are still anointed, the poem insists. Your enemies have not erased your identity. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Hebrew word translated as follow here is far stronger in the original. It is the same word used in Psalms to describe a relentless pursuit, as if goodness and mercy are themselves running after David, refusing to let him go. Even here, even now, even on this broken road, David reached Mahanaim, that city east of the Jordan whose very name means two camps. And there, in the wilderness, he had mapped with the poetry of his faith. He regrouped, loyal generals gathered. Ancient friends arrived with bread, cheese, and water, simple provisions for a king without a kingdom. The text of 2 Samuel names them Barzillai the Gileadite, Shobi the Ammonite, Mashir the son of Amiel. Men who saw a broken king and chose his side anyway. Men who prepared, you might say, a table before him in the presence of his enemies. The battle that followed, fought in the forest of Ephraim, was catastrophic for Absalom's forces. David's commanders routed the rebel army. 20,000 men fell that day, and Absalom, riding his mule through the thick forest, caught his head in the branches of a great oak tree. Suspended in midair, helpless, the magnificent rebel prince was found by David's general Joab, who drove 3 javelins through his heart. The rebellion was over, but David's response to the news shreds every expectation of triumphant kingship. He did not celebrate. He did not raise a fist to the sky. He climbed to a room above the city gate, and he wept. "Oh, my son Absalom," he cried in one of the most raw expressions of grief in all of ancient literature. My son Absalom, would I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, he was not the soldier rejoicing over a defeated enemy. He was a father weeping over a lost child, and it is this complexity, this man who could compose hymns of absolute trust in God while simultaneously weeping for the son who tried to murder him, that makes David the most psychologically complete figure. In all of ancient writing, he did not choose between faith and grief. He held both at once. He returned to Jerusalem. He reclaimed his throne. The coup was crushed, but the walk back was not a parade. It was a quiet, slow restoration, like a bone healing after a fracture. In the 3,000 years since David wrote those 6 verses on a broken road in the Judean wilderness, Psalm 23 has become arguably the most recognized piece of human writing in the Western world. It has been read at the bedsides of the dying across every continent. It has been whispered in the trenches of the First World War by soldiers who had never read anything else in the Bible. It has been carved into tombstones. From Scotland to South Korea, Nelson Mandela drew strength from it in his Robben Island prison cell. It was read aloud at the funeral of John F. Kennedy. It was the first thing quoted by the first responders in the rubble of September 11th. Why? Not because it is vague and comforting in the way of greeting cards, but because it is specific to the deepest geography of human suffering. Every person who has ever lost everything, who has walked barefoot through their own version of the Mount of Olives, who has looked at the valley ahead and seen only shadow, who has sat alone at a table while enemies circled, has found in these words not a promise that the pain will disappear, but a promise that they will not be alone inside it. The psalm does not say the valley will be removed. It says, I will walk through it, not around it, through it. The psalm does not say the enemies will disappear. It says a table will be set in front of them. You will be honored in the very space where the threat exists. These are not the words of a man who escaped his suffering. These are the words of a man who went directly into it and found, in the darkest passage, a presence that did not flinch, a shepherd from Bethlehem, a king in exile, a father in grief, a poet in the wilderness, a human being in every possible way broken, who looked up from the dust and said, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want, not because life is easy, but because he is not alone in it. The hills of Bethlehem still stand. The Judean wilderness is still dry and vast and merciless under the Middle Eastern sun. The Wadi Kelt still carves its ancient shadow through the rock. And somewhere, in every language spoken on this earth, someone tonight is reading these words for the first time. Not as history, not as literature, but as a lifeline. A soldier, a mother in a hospital corridor, a man sitting alone after the collapse of everything he built. They will not know about the barefoot king on the Mount of Olives. They will not know about the oak tree, or the treacherous canyon, or the shepherd boy of Bethlehem, who once killed a lion with his own hands and then went back to writing songs about God in the dark. But they will feel what David felt when he wrote it, that they are known, that they are followed by something more relentless than their grief, that the valley is real, and they will walk through it, and that on the other side of it is a table, already set, already waiting, prepared not by the world, which fails us, but by something older and fiercer and more tender than anything the world has ever managed to produce. Goodness and mercy, following you all the days of your life, always. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. 3,000 years, 6 verses, one voice calling across every wilderness humanity has ever had to cross, and still we listen.